Hello chaps and chappets, and welcome to the review of Dark Souls. Now if you haven't already noticed it, I've already done a how to play video, and because it was quite long I didn't want to add a very long review onto the end of that video, so I've cut the video into two. So this is the review video of Dark Souls. If you want to see how to play Dark Souls, click the link here, and at the end of the video there is a link which will take you to that video so you can see how to play this dark, omnipresent, fear-inducing game. But anyway, let's sit down because I'm feeling a bit sick and the body's just not functioning very well at the moment. So let's talk about this game, shall we? So like normal, I'm going to start with the technical side of the review, which will cover the components and the mechanisms in the game. With this technical review, I try to take a step back and I will be approaching it with a dark, soulless kind of look at what you're getting, what your money is actually paying for. Before I move into my personal review, which is more about how I feel about the game and what the other people at the table felt about the game, because that's what's important. You know, this might be a great game, but it might feel rubbish, or it might be a rubbish game, but we have fun playing it. So we're going to start with the minis. Now, there's not as many minis as you would probably like to have in this game, but what you're lacking in number of minis, you're getting in these very big minis. These still do take up a lot of space in the box. The quality of them is pretty good. The big minis are very light, so they've used a very light plastic, although with some of the smaller minis you're going to have some bendy swords. The cards in game are good quality, they're very nice. It's very dark and somber artwork approach. There's a lot of iconography on the cards, and they do take a little while to get used to, but after a while you do get used to them pretty quick. Although a major drawback is the very small icons on the small cards. Some of the icons are so small and so similar, they make setup of the game a bit longer than what it should be. The tokens and tiles are pretty thick and sturdy. Again, some of the tiles are a bit hard to differentiate because of the darkness and the somberness of the art style. I'm talking about the medallion for the hero's power and also the luck token. The player board's fantastic, great thick card, very practical. These holes which keep your resources and your stats in place and they don't move around. And then you got your player area. This is very practical and very handy and very easy to use. Again, the player board's thick and there are quite a few of them in the box, so there is a bit of variety in your map layouts, although you won't notice it because of the positions of the dots and where they are, and then of course the artwork underneath. But they're double-sided, so there's different artwork and different spacings of the nodes. And when I say spacings, I don't mean spacings, they're different spaces apart, but they're in different locations, the different colored nodes. The dice feel of good size and good quality, as do the small cubes. And then the rulebook. The rulebook is thick, very well written, very well laid out and presented, but mal-organized. It's a disaster to read. It needs condensing, it needs a few more tables thrown in for setup and ease of use in that way, and it also needs more bullet points. The rules are a bit all over the place, and when I say a bit all over the place, I mean that there's a bit of story or character or history, and then there's some rules, and then there's a bit of history, and then there's a bit of rules. So reading the rule book and learning how to play the game and play the game at the same time is not a feasible thing. You're going to need to read the rule book, learn how to play the game, and then teach the game to other people, because otherwise you're going to add an extra 2 hours to your game playing time, and that's already going to be 2 hours. Everything fits in the box nicely. The insert is non-existent, but you have all these large boxes where the minis go, and then you have this plastic tray where the cards go and they fall out. Again, there was no way to organize the tokens, so I improvised and placed a bag in, and it just about fit all back in the box nicely. But as I said, the cards, they do fall about, and it needed a better system. So now let's talk about the mechanisms in the game, which when you actually fathom out from the rulebook, how the game works. They're original and they are meshed together really, really well. The status bar, where you're going to be filling up with your stamina cubes and your damage cubes, gives the player the option of what to do. And it is a very nice system for managing your life points, so to say. So that's how the heroes can balance the game, but the game doesn't balance itself because it relies on a random deck of item cards. And when you're going to be grinding your way through this adventure, what will be happening is you may be lucky and draw some good items at the beginning of the game, therefore making it easier to slay monsters, to give you more souls, to give you more cards. And then there's the inverse, where you're just constantly drawing crap after crap, and it just seems an impossible task. The nodes on the board is a good idea. It saves having spaces, especially when you have big monsters, and it's always going to be 3 creatures in a space, so even if you've got a big monster there, you can still squeeze 2 small ones in there. Very practical, very nice idea, and again, it gives you a lot of possibilities in movement. So from one space, you can go to 8 other spaces adjacent. The programmation, once you get used to it, is very clean, quick, and easy to understand, and it works even more better when you have, and is a lot more interesting when you have the bosses who have these decks which will dictate their actions. And that programmation leads to a great mechanic, which is the puzzle solving aspect, because you're going to be evaluating every action that you can possibly do on your turn to get through this situation unscathed. The game is basically like an old 80s arcade game where you start at one space and you got to go scroll across the screen to get to the Guardian boss at the end, and they have their programmable movement. Whether that ties in with the Dark Souls video game, I don't know because I haven't played. The game is designed to be hard, and it is hard depending on the boss that you take, and depending on the random card draws that you're going to have, and depending on the rolls of your dice. So there you have it. That is my technical review. Personally, it would be an 8.5 out of 10. Very good components, very nice. The artwork obviously is from the video game and is very, you know, it does kind of sink you into that morbid kind of, this is death. This is death looking at me. This is death, and he's come to take my soul. And the mechanisms represent that, where everything's hard. It's all the monsters attacking you, and then one player gets to fight back, and then all the monsters attack someone else, and then that player can get to... It is very doom and gloom, and it is very grindy. You're going to be grinding your way to get the best equipment possible to get through to the boss at the end. So Dark Souls is a board game that every Dark Souls fan is going to be clawing to get at, because it does capture that kind of really doom and gloom kind of feel that I presume comes from Dark Souls, the video game. No, I haven't played. It is a game that I've always wanted to buy, but because of the way things are, I haven't gone out my way to get a copy. I like the idea that you don't have to go in and kill every monster in the video game. You just need to learn what their attitudes are and jump over them or walk around them or distract them or make them commit suicide, you know. That's a great concept. Unfortunately, it's not in this game. You actually do have to go into the whole room and wipe out everything. I really enjoy the mechanics. The mechanics work really well. It does give you this really big brain burner puzzle feeling, which I haven't had since playing Apocalypse Chaos, which again was a co-op where you're fighting a group of monsters which are building up against you, and you got to figure out how to take them out in the best possible way as a team. And you don't get that kind of feeling with other games like Dungeon Crawlers or anything else. This game is just really intense. Alpha gamers might take over this game, but at the same time, you know, they're not going to have that opportunity to roll the dice. Other players are going to roll that dice. Or other players might decide, no, you know what, I'm going to move here. But the alpha gamer will also point out all the weak spots and help the players get through the game. But only if they're good alpha gamers. Each game feels the same. Even if you change the boss, each game feels the same. It is a case of a side scroller. You start at the beginning and you got to get to the end. And sometimes you'll get so far and then you go back to the beginning. And you, yeah, that's incorporated. That gives it that feel is there. But after a while, it becomes dull and repetitive. It becomes dull and repetitive in two different ways. If the game is too easy and you're just like walking through all the monsters, the game becomes dull and repetitive. Because you'll go back to the beginning to get some more souls, so you can buy some more equipment, so hopefully the boss will be easier. The other way it's dull and repetitive is if the game is too hard and you're not drawing the items that you want, the monsters are too tough, they're wiping you out, they're finding your weak spots, you're having bad luck with the dice, and then the game just becomes dull and frustrating. The game doesn't seem to balance itself out on its own accord. It always just seems to be either chaotic and death in clenching, or too easy and not very interesting until you get to a boss. The highlight is the boss battles, where you got this deck of cards and then the game becomes memory, remembering where the weak spots are going to be on the 4th card or on the 3rd card, and then going through those actions and trying not to get killed. And where it's a bigger room, you can run away a bit as well, so you can heal yourself. Whereas if you're in the smaller rooms with the other guys, it becomes formulaic. You know, you go in the same positions each time you go into that room and you go, right, okay, we'll do the same again. I go over there, I kill the archer, and then you go and kill that guy, and then with that room is done. You know, and in 3 rounds, you move on. The game is original, and the game feels fresh. But after a while, it just does become kind of meh. The minis are good, I'm not complaining. I mean, there are other people that say, well, the minis are, they're okay. They could have put more detail in. As I said, the other components are not too bad. Problems with the icons, it comes too icon related. And then, of course, learning how to play the game or having those questions thrown at you mid-game and then going through the rulebook to try and find the answers is a nightmare. It's not clear, there's no big bold text, there's no italic text, there's no pointers, there's no tables to tell you. In a 1-player game, you start with 16 souls, and in a 2-player game, you start with 0 souls, in a 3-player game, you start with 0 souls. That's not there. It's hidden in a paragraph somewhere. And again, when you're quickly referencing a rulebook for an answer to a question, sometimes you'll stumble across something like I did, a complete error, which was when we went back to the bonfire. Do we get to refresh our luck and our Erstus and our heroic feat? Yes, you do. You get to do that. But the paragraph that I read said that I had to pay for the luck. And so I had to think, wait a minute, if I have to pay for the luck, then why did I get it free before? Now, the rulebook does come with some campaigns and scenarios at the back, but I don't see the fun in them because every time we've played this game, we always get to the mini boss and we go, we're done. We don't want to go any further. We don't want to reset and then do a boss and the mini boss. That's fine. We've experienced the game and it's okay. And the campaigns are basically play the game as it is, but use this mini boss and this boss for this scenario, and then use this mini boss and this boss for the next scenario. And it's like, well, we can do that without the scenario. Obviously, you'll be carrying over your equipment into the next scenario, but what's the point? Once you've built like a brick wall, you're going to walk through everything until you get to the big boss itself. Now, this is just the base game, and I've got all the Kickstarter exclusive minis and bits and pieces coming. I'm hoping that they're going to be good and they're going to interject something new. I don't want there just to be lots of bosses that you go, okay, well, you can play with this boss and you got to kill that boss. Hopefully there's something which will tweak it and make it unique and give me this urge to want to play it again, because at the moment I don't want to play it. And if all the extras just give you extra stuff, then this is an eBay click, this one. I wanted to like it, I did like it, but then it just became flatline. So my board game geek rating for this game is a measly 6 out of 10. Why, you ask? It has puzzle solving. You like puzzle solving and teamwork together, and you like dungeon crawling, and you like minis and dice rolling. What doesn't work about this game? It's just dull and repetitive, unfortunately. There's nothing new. Each time you play the game, it is the same experience every time. It's like watching a DVD. You know what's gonna happen. You might die, but you might win during the course of the game. The game is just leaves a really dry taste in my mouth, and I don't want to go back and spend 2 hours of my life playing the game and having exactly the same dull, boring experience that I did the week before, or the week before that, or the week before that. It needs something to go bang. It's got some great mechanics, it's got some great artwork, it's got some great little components, but it just is not fun to play anymore. So, there you go, there you have it. That's Dark Souls. You might be intrigued by this game. That's why I do these two separate reviews. My technical review, which as I said is an 8.5, it's got some great stuff, and my personal review, which is a 6. But if you combine those scores together, you're going to get a 7.25 as a mean average. So there you go, there's a gauge there to try and figure out if this is a game for you. So there you go. I hope I've done my job. I hope I've pointed you in the direction whether this is a game to sit on your shelf or not, because it does take up quite a lot of space. We'll see again if in the future the expansions or the add-ons or the Kickstarter exclusives that come will change the game and make it better or make it worse. But only time will tell, and I'll show you then. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like. If you know someone who likes this game, you might want to share this video with them, so go and share it with them. If you want to help contribute towards the show, you can throw a few pennies on my Patreon, Board Games Everybody Should ... Yes, and maybe get yourself a prize in my lucky prize draw, which I do monthly. And all that remains for me to say is ciao for now, and remember, please play nicely with each other, and don't try and stab each other in the back, and work together cooperatively, and don't die. You don't want to be soulless. I'm tissueless at the moment. My nose is going to go. Excuse me.
Just sitting at the table next to Felicia would be quite nice. Wouldn't it be good? I got some board games, I don't know how many. Just like they do.